chicken, fish.
Of course, you want to be eating healthy and stay lean no matter what time of the year it is.
Not the fun calories.
But what you do consistently is a lot more important.
Always protein 6 times a day.
As long as you stay on point 95% of the time, then you're gonna be okay.
And just like that.
So, in this video I'm going to explain you how to not get fat from cheat meals. How to protect yourself from that post-binge bloat and not lose all your progress. I'm gonna be covering what to do before your cheat meals, what to do during the meal, and what to do afterwards as well. So it's your cheat meal cheat sheet.
Who's running this?
So, first of all, you have to get the right mindset when you're going into this.
I got the vision.
Like I said, cheat meals are okay if you keep them moderate, and as long as you're the one who's controlling them. There's a huge difference between overeating unconsciously, like being triggered into this overeating, versus doing it deliberately and in a controlled manner.
So on a cheat day, I would just go hammer like 40 ribs.
You want to be aware and be able to self-reflect on the entire process. That's why I recommend you to have a cheat meal, not a cheat day.
Like 40 ribs.
Now let's continue on with what to do before you have your cheat meals. It's very important to create this inner environment within your body prior to the cheat meal, so that the food you do eat would be used as efficiently as possible. If you do it strategically, then you can actually boost your metabolism, build some muscle, and burn more fat. The reason is that if you're eating a lot of carbs or desserts when your body isn't capable of handling them, then you're practically self-inducing insulin resistance. It would be better to take some cyanide and be done with it, if you get what I mean. If you're planning on having a cheat meal, then you have to be willing to put in some extra work for it, so that you would reduce the damage it has on your body. Here are some of the things you should do to negate the negative side effects of cheat meals. Deplete your glycogen stores. Glycogen is your body's stored glucose, which gets deposited only to a certain amount. The liver can contain only 100 to 150 grams of glycogen. Your muscle cells can store about 300 to 500 grams, depending on how much muscle mass you have. In a state of glycogen depletion, your body becomes incredibly sensitive to carbohydrates. When your muscle cells are empty, then insulin will be able to shuttle that glucose into the cells more easily. If your glycogen stores are already full, then the carbs you do eat are more likely to be stored as fat. Therefore, before having a cheat meal, you want to deplete your glycogen stores and make yourself more insulin sensitive. To deplete your liver glycogen, you need to fast for only as little as 16 to 24 hours. Walking on an empty stomach or doing fasted cardio will speed up this process and increases your daily caloric demands as well. So, what I recommend you to do is to spend the majority of the day before your cheat meal in a fasted state and do some intermittent fasting. You skip breakfast, you walk around, you eat only very little food to prevent complete starvation, and the food that you do eat should be low carb and have some moderate protein.
Steamed vegetables.
You only get fat because of eating at night only if you spend the majority of the day already eating. Don't have snacks or high calorie foods either, because it's mostly this unconscious way of eating, mindless eating.
Forbidden donut.
To deplete your muscle glycogen, you need to be doing some glycolytic exercises. Low intensity activities like cardio or walking burn mostly fat for fuel. At higher intensities where you're recruiting more fast-twitch muscle fibers, you need glycogen. Therefore, you want to be doing either resistance training or high intensity interval training, but preferably both. The most efficient way of depleting muscle glycogen is to have a full body workout, because muscle glycogen is spread across your entire body. Doing compound movements that involve multiple joints and muscle groups will burn more calories and make more of your cells insulin sensitive. To emphasize the release of glycogen, you want to be doing slightly higher rep ranges that focus more on sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. Somewhere around 3 to 5 sets of 15 to 25 reps are perfect for squeezing out the glycogen and activating the GLUT4 receptors that will help to shuttle glucose into the cell more efficiently. It's also a good idea to do some high intensity cardio instead of steady state cardio. Not only will it help to deplete your glycogen, but it will also boost fat burning after the fact. Stuff like HIIT or Tabata have a much greater excess post-exercise oxygen consumption rate, or EPOC, this afterburn effect. The second thing you want to pay attention to is your hydration and sodium intake. Have you ever heard people saying that after they cheated, they gained a ton of weight and they're never gonna cheat again? Well, what really happened was that their body held onto some extra water, which made them bloat up like a balloon. Insulin plays a huge role in sodium metabolism. Your body's sodium excretion is regulated by your kidneys. When you reduce your insulin levels, whether by doing intermittent fasting or eating low carb, you're losing a lot of water weight and sodium. Once you reintroduce insulin, you'll be causing an anti-diuretic effect, which makes you hold onto those fluids more easily. So, to prevent that excess bloat, then you want to be consuming less water and sodium with your cheat meals. This is gonna allow the glucose to be used for muscle glycogen instead of this excess puffiness.
Woohoo! Look at that blubber fly!
It's important to not lie to yourself the day afterwards either. Oh, it's just water weight. No, you just overate. And now you're fat. But what you can do to minimize that is to avoid processed foods that have a lot of extra sodium. Stuff like pastries, chips, tomato sauces, burgers and fries, the junk. You know it. Another way to increase your daily caloric demands and to stimulate fat burning is to do some cold thermogenesis. When you're shivering or when you're sweating, then your body is forced to burn calories to maintain a stable core temperature. Taking a cold shower burns almost no calories, but an ice bath or walking outside with the cold will definitely ramp up your brown fat production. Cold exposure burns a ton of calories, and even just a few minutes will also raise dopamine and elevate your mood. I mean, you're shivering and you feel scared, but at the same time you feel more alive than ever before. You feel energized. You can also combine cold thermogenesis with heat exposure. Hot temperatures will also increase mitochondrial density and burn some fat through sweating. Just sitting at a sauna at 100 degrees Celsius itself is like a cardio workout because your heart will be racing and your blood is pumping. What I recommend you do is sit in a sauna for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then you have 5 minutes of having an ice bath, walking outside, or having a cold shower. This is going to also stimulate the lymph system and it improves your overall health. So follow these tips before your cheat meal to burn some calories and create the right environment for your body. But when it is time to eat, then you don't want to start to immediately gorge yourself. Having high amounts of carbohydrates right away can have a negative effect. Apple cider vinegar is great for stabilizing blood sugar and improving insulin sensitivity, which is why I recommend you to drink it before all of your meals. Adding some lemons or other citrus will also stimulate some digestive enzymes in the gut. The most critical thing to remember is to not combine fats together with sugars. This is gonna keep your insulin elevated for longer periods of time, and it's also gonna cause more oxidative stress to the body. Eating fat with elevated levels of insulin will also make it easier for your body to store that fat as fat.
Buttermilk biscuits.
Insulin is a storage hormone that tells that your body has an abundance of energy. Fat is a storage molecule, and if your body perceives that there's already enough energy around, then that fat will be directly stored as fat.
Peppermint
So, don't eat processed foods that have high amounts of carbs, high amounts of fat, and high amounts of sodium, because they're gonna bloat you up like hell. Or, if you do want to eat them, then don't eat them at your first meal. Another thing to limit is alcohol. You can have a few drinks, but be aware, alcohol stops fat oxidation as well. What it means is that any food that you consume with alcohol is gonna make you store that food as fat. Strong spirits have less calories, but drinking beer is the equivalent of eating donuts. I'm just putting it out there. Pure facts.
with your fucking 48% body fat.
But what about fruit? If you're planning on eating some fruit, then this is the best time to do it. Fruit consists of fructose, which can only be metabolized by the liver. Excess fructose can actually cause liver toxicity and fatty liver disease because after your liver glycogen stores get full, all of the fructose you can't store right away will be converted into fat. So, the only time you would ever want to eat fruit is on a fasted state, on an empty stomach when your liver glycogen stores are depleted. Having fruit for dessert is also a bad idea because it's more likely to be stored as fat. So what do you do during your cheat meals to not get fat? Having a banana, some potatoes or rice cakes are great as your first meal, because they're gonna have a more stable insulin response than Snickers bars. There are also some other things you can use to reduce the negative side effects. Cinnamon stabilizes blood sugar and has prebiotic properties. It's great for protecting against inflammation and bloating as well. Caffeine before eating boosts fat burning, and caffeine after food also speeds up the metabolism. So having some coffee or green tea around those times is a great way to burn some more fat. And as a bonus, both of them regulate blood sugar as well. Apple cider vinegar we talked about already, and having it after your food or before bed will also lower insulin and blood sugar. Grapefruit juice has been found to have incredible benefits on blood sugar and weight loss. So it's a good idea to drink some grapefruit with your first carb meals. You shouldn't go through your entire cheat meal in one sitting. Instead, you want to have these frequent movement breaks where you move around, you lower your blood sugar, and you also mentally detach from it. It's gonna prevent your primal urges from kicking in. And it helps you to stay more conscious. Walking for 10 to 15 minutes after eating will also help to lower your blood sugar, and it gets you into this fat burning zone as soon as possible. Isometric holds or very light yoga can also activate GLUT4 translocators, which improve glucose metabolism and insulin sensitivity. Even as little as 60 to 90 seconds is enough to trigger a mild response. So if you hold some planks or do some isometric holds before your first meal, then you're gonna make your muscles more available for the carbohydrates.
You earned it. Thank you.
And the key thing to remember is to enjoy your cheat meal, to not overanalyze it, to stay conscious during the entire process and to actually enjoy it.
Believe me when I tell you.
Take advantage of it, because who knows when you're gonna have your next one.
I'll never do you no harm.
But with all the good things in life, you have to pay your price for it. So what do you do the day afterwards? Are you gonna have this excess bloat?
With your fucking 48% body fat.
God damn, I'm never gonna eat those donuts again. Or maybe if you implemented these tips correctly, then you're gonna be fine. But what you still wanna do is implement some post-binge damage control. The next day, you wanna be doing some intermittent fasting again, because your body is topped off with extra energy. You don't need to be eating food, and you'll be most likely causing some extra weight gain. Instead, fast for at least 16 to 20 hours the next day. Do some light intensity cardio on a fasted state again, and maybe have a heavier resistance training workout. It's a good idea to have your most intense lifting days the day after your cheat meals, because you have more energy to push yourself.
The secret is you can't do it in a month. It takes 8 months or a year or a lifetime of consistency, working out every single day, and eating properly and truly feeding yourself, not starving yourself, but giving yourself proper nutrition to heal. You have to burn off all the crap you've put in your body, and then you have to replace it with really good